Once upon a time, during the early 20th century, there lived a brave shepherd in the Himalayan mountains. His name was Salam Ghosh. He used to take a large herd of sheep to the upper reaches of the Himalayas during summers. The sheep would gaze in the endless green pastures of the lesser Himalayas. This would save them from moderately hot weather down in the plains. There were many dangers that the shepherd would face during this trek and stay amid the mountains. Salam Ghosh was a man in his early 20s. He was tall, well-built, and manly. His moustache was one of a kind. His eyes were deep and involving. His hands and feet were hard and fissured. His hair was charcoal black, and it draped his wheatish forehead with elegance. He, however, had a crooked nose that always annoyed him. He often used to complain, "My nose is like a scab blemish on a red apple." On the other hand, Salam was a man of mettle. He was known for his bravery. His tales were told to the children in the tribe. He had hundreds of tales of courage and wit to share. He often used to start his narrative in the way, "When I drove my ex." One fine morning, Salam left his home with his herd of sheep. It was mid-May. His dog Shera escorted the herd. Shera was his right hand, 10 young people aside and Shera on one side. He would trust him with his life. In a couple of hours, the unit started an upward trek to the mountain. By the eve of the evening, they had walked so long that all of them felt tired. They reached a small pasture. A few mud houses with thatched roofs were seen. They decided to halt and spend a night there. Salam himself set the tent and managed space where the sheep would stay. But what happened in the night was scary. When all the people were fast asleep in their tents and mud houses, Salam was awake. He was on guard. A large herd of sheep would attract wild animals, especially bears and leopards. In the middle of the night, Salam saw some movement in the herd. In a while, Shera, who was also guarding the herd, began to bark. Salam got attentive. He rose up, drew his axe, and awakened others. By the time a few other men could wake up and get ready, a leopard had pounced onto the sheep. Salam jumped in and hit the leopard in his head. At once, he drew his dagger and pierced one eye of the leopard. In this fight for life and death, Salam suffered grave injury to his face and shoulders. Nonetheless, this brave man managed to put the dagger in the other eye of the animal. In the meanwhile, a few other men with axes, sticks, and swords, and whatever they could find, jumped into the arena. The leopard was badly injured. It galloped away on its way into the woods. Salam was taken to the tent. He was badly injured. He did not care for his life. He saved the sheep from being eaten away by the hungry animal. His attentive guard, his cleverness, and his courage impressed everyone. Shera was equally vigilant. Had Shera not raised timely alarm, Salam wouldn't have been able to reach the spot on time. This way, the duo prevented a loss. The next morning, Salam was treated with some jungle medicinal plants. His pain subsided. His face was badly scratched by the animal. The scars on his face told the tales of bravery, sacrifice, and courage for years. The pride that Salam felt was priceless. The Tree and the Child, a short story. In the hustle and bustle of a stay on the banks of river Tufran, a gushing water body with a legacy of its own, there was a boy who lived with his parents. The stay was called Kasah and the boy was called Kokab. He was just over 12. Just like all the boys of the town, he went to school, learned computer, and played games with his friends. He was fond of playing games on smartphone also. His favorite game was Brazilian billiard. One fine day, Kokab went to school, and he was informed by his teacher that the school is going on an excursion to a faraway mountain to the south of the city. "Dear children, we will be going on a school excursion," form teacher shouted in fervor. His class was also going. He was excited to hear this news. In the evening, he told his father in excitement, "Dad, we are going on an excursion." "Oh, really? Where?" his father asked with a smile on his face. "To the mountains," Kokab replied with exquisite bliss on his face. Next day, registrations were made. List of food items and clothes to be taken to the journey were given to the students. Kokab's father bought him all the necessary stuff advised by the teacher. In 1 week, the big day arrived. "Kokab, Kokab, get up, son. It's time to leave for the excursion." His mother woke up early in the morning. Once Kokab's eyes opened and he realized that it was the excursion day, he jumped out of the bed and galloped to the bathroom. He hastily brushed his teeth, took a shower, and got ready. He kissed his mom and dad and in a hurry left for school. Soon, the caravan comprising 3 buses and an old wagon left towards its destination, a 2-hour drive into the woods. When they reached the hill station, their happiness had no boundaries. They were laughing and cheering in joy. Kokab and his friends set up a makeshift tent towards a corner of an endless green pasture. They dug a narrow circle around the tent and erected a few wooden poles and fenced their tent with a rope. They also draped their tent with red silk fabric. After some time, this bunch of happy lads started playing football. While playing, Kokab's friend kicked the ball. The ball dropped off into the woods nearby. "Go and get the ball," his classmate shouted at Kokab. He ran after the ball. The ball had traveled into the trees. Kokab looked here and there and finally found the ball under a big deodar tree. When he saw the tree, he was amazed. This tree was huge but withered. All the trees in the vicinity were green and full of life. Their branches were waving in the mild breeze. This big deodar was naked and lifeless. It was on a deathbed. The tree, however, caught Kokab's attention. He thought to himself, "Ah, this tree is lifeless and dead." With this passing thought, Kokab grabbed the ball and walked back to his friends. As soon as he was about to walk, he heard a sudden voice. "Boy, I was not always lifeless." Kokab was stunned. He was scared. He looked back and found that it was the same old tree that was speaking. Kokab rubbed his eyes and raised his eyebrows. The tree continued, "I was also young and green and lively." Kokab spoke in a fumbling voice. What happened to you? Who did this to you?" Kokab was curious to know. "Humans," the tree replied, in pain and agony. The tree narrated a painful story. "One day, a few humans came here with axes and daggers. They put some white granular substance under my feet." The tree sighed while narrating the tale. It added, "After a few days, a swarm of red ants invaded my world and I was gradually depleted. Today, what I remain is a hollow, lifeless deadwood." Kokab was an innocent kid. He couldn't understand the reasons. "But why did those men do that?" he asked. The tree laughed and said, "Not all humans are alike. Some of you are greedy." Those men had put sugar under the stem of the big tree so that ants could attack and eat away the deodar. This would make the tree hollow. Then they would be able to cut it down mercilessly. The smugglers of wood had cut down its branches for timber. The same thing had happened to many other trees in the neighborhood. Kokab went home. He was upset and cross. He narrated the whole incident to his dad. "Son, we have developed our materials, but our minds are primitive and our intentions are wild," he said. "We have cut down trees. We have forgotten that they are our lungs. We have forgotten that when trees are there and forests are there, there will be food. Kokab's father asked him to go to sleep. He advised him, plant trees, do not cut them down, respect nature, and if you want to live a plentiful life, respect nature.